Hey, hello everybody. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Happy Ever After Relationship Done Different challenge with the creator of Relationship Done Different.
I love
Simone.
it because you've gone that way and because StreamYard is the opposite. Simone Milasas. But you know what? The creator is the one that's out there we're all creators of Relationship Done Different. So that's for sure.
That is for sure. Simone, I want my happy ever after. How come it didn't work?
Because the happily ever after and the one doesn't exist. I'm sorry, breaking news. It's the month of Christmas and we're all supposed to be happy and cheerful. And I'm sorry, that doesn't work.
Oof, I have to take a deep breath.
Dios mío, meu Dio, I can't believe it. There's no the one. I even know some gentlemen who have white horses and they can come riding in on white horses. They're still not the one.
I had someone who did a Relationship Done Different class with me, and she traveled 3,000 miles, moved country to live with the one, and it didn't work out. So,
Well, do you know what's interesting about that, Rachel, is, and Dane, we just finished this class with Dane, Dr. Dane here in Rome, Maestro class, which was phenomenal. But one thing he said, which I thought was hilarious because it rings so true for so many people, is how many times do you enter into a relationship and when you're not like even in the same city or the same country, it's fabulous. Like, you love getting those. I love it. It's like I love getting that, like, oh, look, I got a text. I'm on the plane. And you're like, oh, yeah, my day's great. How's yours? Or whatever. And you send each other these messages, but you're not going home at night going, what are we eating for dinner? And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. For me personally, and I think for me, relationships done different and happily ever after is what works for you, not what you think should work for you, what actually works for you. And I'm not so sure that I'm ever going to live with a partner again. Like I don't know. I love spending, some nights, in bed together and waking up and I'm like, morning, I love that. But I don't actually desire that 7 days a week. That's for me. And I think so much of, all the classes that the RDD, we shorten everything, Relationship Done Different facilitators do. We do a bunch of classes, but the main one is Relationships Done Different. And for me, it's about exploring, really exploring what works for you, not what you've been told, not what your parents said, not what your friends said, not what your society, your religion, or anything like that says. It's exploring what actually works for you, which means getting really brutally honest.
it
And I'm not
does.
so sure that's what we're all willing to choose.
It does. And when you said, where I am with relationship right now, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't choose to live with someone. Can we talk about, so basically you've named this happily ever after. Are you getting what you expect
Mhm.
in relationship? Can we talk maybe about expectation first and then lead into allowance of what you
Sure.
require? Yeah. Yes, please.
Sure. Well, I mean, what do you expect from a relationship? And are you getting it is a great question to ask yourself too. And again, I'm going to bring it back to the being brutally honest. Like I remember the last long-term relationship I was in, Rachel, and you know, it's the smallest of things. Like I would drive home and I drive in the driveway, and if I saw his car there, I was like, "Oh, yay, he's home." And I would get really excited and happy that he was home. And then I noticed towards the end of the relationship, I would drive in the driveway and I'd be like, oh, he's home. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a small thing to acknowledge. And yet I really required more space towards the end of the relationship. In truth, we were together for 8 years. We should have been together for 4,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
would have worked. And either end as well. Like, and especially the last few years, it just, what are you expecting from it that you're not getting? And I think it's a really great question to ask. And for me, a lot of this stuff is you can talk about it and you can talk about it to, your friends or your partner if you can, but a lot of the times you can't. So I think that's where you need to get something that works for you. Get a little notebook or something that no one's ever going to see or whatever, and just write down for yourself, what are you expecting from this relationship? And then write down at least 8 to 10 things and ask, are you getting it? Now, here's the thing. It's not about, then going, right, I'm going to talk to my partner and be like, I'm expecting this and you're not delivering this. It's not about making them wrong or blaming anyone. It's looking at it going, okay, so is this actually possible? So for me, one of the things that I really desired my last long-term relationship was financial contribution.
Yeah.
And it's like, that wasn't happening. It's like, I was the one that was paying for 99% of everything. Yeah. And I remember at one point going, hey, I need some help here because you're really good at spending money and, and having all this stuff here. And I eventually went, I need to show you my finances because I just don't have the money to continue like this. So we sat down and looked at it, but the expectation for me to go, hey, I'd like you to do X, Y, Z wasn't there. And it wasn't going to show up by me getting cranky or frustrated. So I had to look at it and go, does this actually still work for me? Can I do this? Would I like to still choose this? And I think that's when you look at the expectations is, if the other person is not delivering what you quote unquote expect, I mean, it is about destroying and uncreating your expectations, but it doesn't matter. Is it relevant? Because for me, the financial stuff was not relevant. Like I can't tell you the amount of people women I've had conversations with, Rachel, where they were earning more money than their partners and they complain about it. And I go, well, you're earning more money. If you want them to go somewhere, pay for it. Like, who gives a shit who's paying for what, if you're okay with it? I think gone are the days where it's like the man is the one who's supposed to earn the most money and do all of this. It's like, what are you going to make yourself less than in the face of that? No. So even financial expectations, what do you have that if you didn't have those financial expectations, what would you choose?
I just did a class in Florida. I actually sent you a photograph from that class, and it was an all ladies class. And one of the things they said is they had this space where they were able to address topics and have conversations in regard to uncharted territory. And so one of the things that I particularly enjoy about having you in my life is that I can actually say, hey, this is what I require, or I have a point of view and I have an expectation here. And you'll always ask me, can this person deliver this? Are they capable of delivering this? Or what do you expect this person to get?
Yeah.
Or what do you expect this person to hear that they're not hearing?
Yeah.
And I have to say, for me, this has led me into so much heaviness. It's like going down a deep black hole of shite, and there's no play, there's no joy, there's no enjoyment of each other. How can I even enjoy you? Like, how can I enjoy being with you right now if I have an expectation of you? It's just, and
I'm sorry. I think I can say this because I'm a woman. I think we can get away with this. If you're listening to this, ladies, what if you just enjoyed the man in your life and stop expecting them to do something or be something that they're not? Like, enjoy who they be. Like, really. And even from a really basic example, I remember at one point, like my ex he's a really good handyman. Like, he was very good with stuff like that. Okay. And I kept asking if he would do some stuff, and I eventually just went, okay. And I hired a handyman, and he went, what did you hire a handyman for? And I went, because we need this, 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 and this done. And he's going to do it all in a few hours, And he went, but I can do that. And I looked at him and went, but when?
Yeah.
And I went, and I would rather not fight or have this squabbling. I'd rather pay a handyman to come and do that. We can do something else together. We can, have more fun or something. It's like relationships done different. Unravel where they function from in this reality and start choosing something different. Like, for me, if you're going to have a partner, enjoy them. Really enjoy them. and don't have this expectation of what they should be doing in any area. And what would it be like if you enjoyed having this person in your life? And in truth, if they're in your life, that you create at least 20 times more with them than you would alone. Because you don't need to have a relationship. You should choose to have one, but you don't need to have one.
There's so many mic drop, phrases that you've used, and one of them, I am going to like just really emphasize the one where you say enjoy the person. I have no idea, like, I know as a woman the amount of programming that I have in regard to expectation and what you're supposed to deliver and what you're supposed to do for me and blah, blah, blah. And it was quite scary for me to wake up to the amount of programming that I had in regard to relationship, And the big thing from this is the message that you're given very loud and clear is not to separate number one from what you require, and not to separate number two from the person that you're in relationship with. That is really what relationship, that's the essence of relationship done different, is that you do not have to separate. Separation is always based on judgment. Judgment only creates separation. And when you're in gratitude, you can have this communion that I haven't heard of it anywhere else in the world. I am wildly grateful for Relationship Done Different and Access Consciousness, because I haven't had anything talk about allowance, communion. And I know that this works, because one thing for me with my 3 kids, with anyone I've been in relationship with, as long as I'm choosing to be an allowance of that gift of allowance, where I'm not putting a projection and an expectation, that I'm just actually like, this is Simone, I do not want her to be different. Oof, that in and of itself, this is Simone, this is the way she functions. Now, can I be grateful? And then if you can't, go look at your expectations.
Yeah. But I love that you said that too about your 3 kids, because so many people look at relationships done different and it's about, boyfriend, partner, girlfriend, husband, wife, etc. And it's not. It's about everybody. And it was like in the past year, I had something go on with a friend and I was getting so cranky and so frustrated and so disappointed and all these different things. And I was like, okay, all of that is about expectations. So I ran the process of going, okay, what's my expectations of, this person? And all these different things came up. What's my projection of them? And all these different things came up. And as they came up, what I did was I used the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which has changed, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is the new clearing statement. So, and you can do this, okay? So even if I use Rachel as an example, and I went, okay, so what's my expectation of Rachel? And there's not that much energy with that, because I don't really have an expectation of Rachel. I'm more grateful for her. And that's what you should get to, is the gratitude. And yet Rachel and I have known each other for a really long time, but you tend to have expectations of people when they're like, I want to go your best friend. They are close to you. You live with them or something like that. The closer people are is when you create these expectations. So I would consider Rachel a friend and someone I've known for a really long time. But because we don't hang out all the time, I don't tend to have these expectations, right? So if I pick someone who, is closer to me, it's funny because I don't really seem to have it much anymore. But if I go, okay, so what's my expectation of blah, this person? Whatever comes up, and it sometimes can be so, so you go so silly, but that's the stuff that holds all the funk in place and creates a limitation. So as you ask that question, whatever comes up, and it could be cognitive or it could be energetic, it's like everything that is, destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds,
Creations.
creations and beyonds. Yes, my
You
goodness.
did it.
Yeah, Dane and I actually did. We've got information on the clearingstatement.com, but it will be updated soon. We just made these videos for it, so it was fun. Because so here's the thing: with the clearing statement, what's been added, it used to be all 9 is all 100, right? Which is about the stories. So this is like perfect for RDD, for relationships done different and happily ever after, because how many stories do you have, right, of about relationships and what it should be? And if I give you an example, say you're a little,
alone is like,
oh, I know. So say
how,
you're a
how,
little girl and you're watching all these, fairy tales, and you're thinking, oh, all I want to do is get married. I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to get married. So you have this agenda the whole time you're growing up that you want to get married, right? So this is somewhere here, like in the back, right? And all these different choices you're making is I want to get married. But then maybe on the other essence, you're like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, whatever it is. And you're really enjoying your life. Maybe you're enjoying your career. You don't necessarily want to get married, but you keep having this like conflictual paradigm because you keep sort of wanting to create a lifestyle here. But here you've got this story that you've told yourself your whole life growing up. So you end up having these conflictual paradigms, and you don't actually choose to be happily ever after as you, because you're continuously fighting with every story that you've told yourself. So that first, like say 1 to 50 story is married, have kids, live happily ever after. Over here, your stories from 51 to 100 is about, hey, I'm really enjoying my career and traveling the world and being on my own, or having, different affairs when I want to, or something like this, whatever. So you have these conflictual paradigms, right? So all the stories that you've been telling yourself about what you should have to be happily ever after. And so then you have all these expectations and projections where you destroy and uncreate it times a godzillion. Right and wrong,
yeah.
good and bad, pop and pod, all 900, shorts, boys, provads, creations, bases, and beyonds.
And I would highly suggest that you maybe write this on a little piece of a note paper and just run the clearing statement. And for me, I can sense that running through my whole system. It's like going down through a tree and all the roots of the expectations and the stories about what has to be delivered. And these tools work, folks, they work and they change the energies. And when Simone talked about that, she had no expectation of me, the other person will sense that energy, and immediately I have this sense of being closer to Simone, having more gratitude, and I can sense that flow, because there's an energetic interaction with every relationship or us coming in contact with each other. And so it's so beautiful. How many stories, are you using in relationship?
Well,
Wow.
then you also have this level of like when you pock and pod all the, and if you don't have to, if you can't remember that whole thing, don't worry about it. Just say pock and pod. And it's written now in the comments as well. The whole thing too is then it's like all those barriers and those limitations just go and they get squished, and that's not there anymore. And then you have this space available with you and with another person, and then you receive them in a different way. And for me, relationships done different is about, the first thing is about receiving you in totality. Yeah. And then the next thing is receiving others in totality with, as you mentioned before, Rachel, that beautiful tool of being an allowance of what anybody is choosing. Then you can be there for them. Then you can have their back when you're an allowance. But when you are in judgment of them, that's not a kindness at all.
To you or them, and particularly to you, because you're the one that are experiencing your relationships, And I have to say, for me, when I'm separated and judging, that's not the world that I would like to live in. And so, where relationship done different, we really do invite you to have a different way of living. Yeah. And I just want to say thank you so much for creating this. A lot of people will be like, my happy ever after, happily ever after. It doesn't exist. And one of the things you talk about is choice, and what would you like to choose? And you being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm not sure I'd ever want to live with someone again, that you have that choice of it. I guess for me,
Yeah.
yeah, the gift of you is you have that choice available. Yeah.
And the thing though too is, Rachel, I'm not against it. It's like, and I do say, I'm not so sure I would. Whereas many, many years ago, like, I don't know, 25 years ago, I was adamant about what I did and didn't do in relationships. And now I would say I'm I'm okay with whatever shows up as long as I'm choosing for me and choosing because I can choose it and it makes me happy, not
Yeah.
choosing anything based on a necessity. Whereas previously, I mean, one of the things years ago I would look at and I'd go, I don't do relationships. And I remember Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, asked me a question about it because I was like, I don't do relationships, I'd have these like small term affairs sort of thing and then be like, no, that's it, I'm done. And he was asked me a question. I said, well, I don't see a good one. Why would I choose one? And what I realized was I was looking for a reference of how somebody else was choosing relationship and going, oh, that's what I can do. It's like looking from a recipe book only rather than actually inventing your own recipe, adding your own herbs and spices in there. And then I went, wow, I'm excluding something entirely because I can't see something that I desire to choose rather than going, well, let me look at this energy and what is it that I would like to choose for me and creating based on that. And again, for me, that is actually your happily ever after. I know at the beginning of this live, we were like, there is no happily ever after. There is no the one, there
There
is no
is.
this. But there is a happily ever after where every day you get to wake up and you get to be happy. Like, I remember years ago, oh my God, I don't know, I'm gonna say 30 years ago, a relationship I was in and I was living with somebody, I used to wake up crying like 5 or 6 days a week, and I thought it was normal. It was so much my reality, waking up crying that I went, "Doesn't everybody wake up crying?" Like, I honestly remember having a conversation with my friend about this, and they were like, "No, they don't." And I remember going, "Holy, what am I doing? What am I doing?" And I was sitting in the bath one night and I went, "I'm done. I'm out of here." And I packed up my stuff and I moved to another state like that week because I just went, "I'm done." But I honestly that's the life I was choosing to live, and that's not the life that I had to live. That wasn't my happily ever after. I would say I'm living my happily ever after now because I'm in such an amazing creationship with myself and others. A lot of people I have in my life that I just absolutely love and adore.
So Simone's spicy relationship recipe.
That's it. Add the spice, sugar and spice.
Number one is allowance of you and everyone's. Number two is choice. And number three is you can always change anything change anything that's not working. And that is the spicy recipe. That
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
is a Simone spicy recipe. And so there you go, folks. Go cook what you would like to cook in relationship and what would you like to create.
Yeah, please, 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 please choose for you. So also we want to mention that there's a lot of relationship done different facilitators around the world too. There's going to be a lot coming on here. I know this is the first up. So please enjoy this. Every single person has something to offer. I think it's interesting that, my PR agent always sends off these bios of me and I do these interviews and they go, so Simone, you're a relationship expert. And I'm like, well, aren't we all? Like, what have you chosen? Like, I
Yeah.
am a relationship expert because I have chosen some interesting things over the years, and every time I think what makes a relationship expert is your ability to choose something and then go, oh, okay, maybe that's not working for me. I'm going to choose again. Now I'm going to choose again and I'm going to choose again. And there are, like I said, relationship done different facilitators all over the world. And there are these classes that we do that are absolutely fabulous. And the one thing I really like with the classes that we facilitate is, people come in with an expectation of something and sort of, I mean, I've literally had women be like, can you make my boyfriend do this? Like, how do I do that? Blah, blah, blah. Or it's, I want to find a man. I want to do that. And they all have this energy of something that is sort of outside of them. And then by
Yeah.
the end of it, it's they realize and they acknowledge that they are the source of creation, and by their choices and their actions, they will either allow something into their life or not allow that. But there's more of a calmness in their world and more of a calmness in their bodies as well. So that's what I've noticed with facilitating these relationships, done different classes. And I have one starting on the 19th of December. It is in Abu Dhabi, but you can jump online as well. But if you're in the Abu Dhabi area or you want to fly there, please do. I'd love to have you there. And you can also, join online. So,
And
yeah.
it's beautiful. It also is beautiful there this time of year. It's not too hot, December 19, 2021. And, one of the things that you've made clear is that you've got to look at what you're bringing to the table in relationship, not what you want to get out, like the way you are showing up in relationship. Yeah. And for me, that has been a massive game changer in regard to what are my underlying points of views about the way that I'd be treated. And so what are you bringing to the table, and have you even, got present with that? And I would say, for me, everyone requires a relationship done different class.
Oh, me too. No, honestly, and I get so much out of it when I facilitate as well. I gain more awareness all the time. And even that simple question, asking yourself, it's like, what would you gain with this choice? What will you lose with this choice? It's because we put everything into, what we can win, what we lose, what's right, what's wrong. What if there was more choice than that? And that's part of the new clearing statement as well, with the basis part is, who are you choosing based on? Like, who do you think of before you choose? Again, I'm going to bring it to, what if it was you and your body is who you chose for, which included others. But as you choose for you, you show others that they can choose for them.
That, I don't want to add anything to that. That is the essence of relationship done different. Choosing for you and choosing for your body and really looking at what works for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you're creating. I'm just like, mwah! How do we get so lucky? And check out Relationship Done Different.
Thank you for being here, and thank you everybody, and thank you all the translators, etc. as well. And Rachel, I adore you, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
Check out RDB.